Modi will be addressing his Mann Ki Baat program today at 11 a.m. This will be the 66th episode. The Prime Minister is expected to talk about the progress in the fight against COVID-19. In the last Mann Ki Baat address in May, Prime Minister Modi underlined the importance of taking precautions and stressed that the fight against the pandemic was not over. The Prime Minister has repeatedly urged people to wear masks, back frontline warriors and not stigmatize COVID survivors. Prime Minister Modi is expected to talk about citizen participation and efforts made by the centre and states towards creating more jobs. We're joined by Payal Mehta, who tracks the BJP. Payal, India has crossed that 5 lakh mark. Will this be another pep talk by the Prime Minister to stay the course?
Well, absolutely, because, you've seen that the fight against COVID is far from over, Ayushman, and, in the way in which certain states have again imposed a sort of a lockdown in place, which clearly shows that the numbers have constantly been on a rise and that has been a state of worry for a lot of states and people at large as well. So obviously the Prime Minister will be talking about the good practices. He will be talking about what really has worked for India. He'll also highlight the fact that in comparison to the rest of the world, our numbers are still low in terms of mortality, etc. So obviously the Prime Minister once again is likely to advise the people of the country to make sure that, they follow the rules. They follow rules like social distancing. They do wear masks whenever they are out and probably go out only when required. And he's also, in a way, going to highlight the achievements of the government in fighting this pandemic and what really has been done for various sections of society.
Thank you, Payal. That address by the Prime Minister at 11 a.m. today. Moving on, with over 5,300 new cases and 175 deaths in the last 24 hours, Maharashtra's total COVID tally has risen to 1.5 lakh. The state has a positivity rate of 17.5% and the death rate of 4.6%. According to the latest data, just 26% of the cases are from outside Mumbai, while 74% cases are from the state capital. The state government is gearing up for the arrival of rapid antibody kits, which will be used for testing infections in containment zones. Despite the spike, the state is gradually opening up salons and barbershops. They are set to reopen after 3 months of having their shutters down. Strict guidelines have been imposed by the state government, which includes making appointments before visiting salons, mandatory masks for hairdressers and customers, and sanitization of common areas every 2 hours.
Rakesh Jain is cleaning up his shop to welcome customers. Salons and barbershops in Maharashtra have been allowed to reopen from Sunday after over 3 months of lockdown.
3 महीने तो बहुत ही मुश्किल थे. पहले सोचा था कि 15 दिन का ही लॉकडाउन है और स्टाफ आप सब घर पे ही बैठे थे, तो उनको भी मैनेज करना, फिर रेंट भी मैनेज करना, बहुत ही क्रूशियल पीरियड गया ये in 90 days.
Guidelines are strict. All customers must take appointments. Masks are mandatory for hairdressers and customers. Towels can't be shared. Common area must be sanitized every 2 hours. Select services like haircuts, waxing, threading are allowed. Skin-related services are banned.
This is the right time to show the clients that, that how best we are at, taking care of our clients with hygiene.
Your name, ma'am? Neha. Sure. You have an appointment, Neha?
The Lakme Salon in Bandra has made radical changes to ensure distancing. Just one person is allowed in the waiting area, 2 in the mani-pedi section. Hair stations have been halved.
We studied the guidelines in countries where salons have opened earlier. We studied guidelines by international brands like Dermalogica, TG, Schwarzkopf. And then we also sat down with a panel of doctors and we designed very stringent guidelines, right? So we have 55 new measures that we have taken to enhance safety.
If you have an appointment, then you can very well visit your favorite salon from Sunday. But if you want a facial or a skin treatment, then you might have to wait a little longer for things to normalize. With video journalist Jayant Kar in Mumbai, this is Mihir Trivedi.
Now, Maharashtra recorded the highest single-day rise with 5,318 cases on Saturday. Total cases in the state now stand at 1,59,133. We're joined by Radhika Ramaswamy reporting from Mumbai. Radhika, let's look at the state beyond Mumbai as well, because Mumbai is being successful in has been successful in containing the spike. Thane is becoming a cause for concern with close to 33,000 cases, and other hotspots are also emerging. Is the containment focus now slowly shifting away from Mumbai?
Yes, absolutely. That is what is going on, especially over the last 1 week or so. Mumbai has been slightly stabilizing. Like you said before, it is not out of the woods yet. We are seeing a spike in Mumbai cases as well, but it's been hovering around 1,300 to 1,400. Yesterday, of course, 2,000 was because of reconciliation of figures. Reconciliation is still happening in the state, whereby many backlog cases and backlog deaths are still getting added to the state numbers, which is why a huge spike. Even when it comes to just the state numbers, yesterday it was 6,300, of which 1,000 were reconciliated figures. So the actual numbers for just yesterday was actually 5,300 in the state. And as far as the city of Mumbai is concerned, although it is 2,000, if you just subtract the reconciliated figures, it's about 1,400. And that's the figure that it has been standing at, as far as Mumbai is concerned. But, one of the important aspects is that Mumbai is not testing as much. Of course, the testing capacity is going to increase with the antigen testing kits coming up. More than 1 lakh testing kits have been purchased by the BMC at this point to ensure that, testing capacity is increased. So as of now, it's just 4,000 to 5,000 is what the testing capacity is on an average. But as far as the state figures are concerned, yes, the testing has increased in the state. Almost 25,000 to 27,000 tests being carried out on an everyday basis. But yes, the hotspots have also changed. It's not just the city of Mumbai, but the periphery of Mumbai, be it Thane, Navi Mumbai, Kalyan Dombivli, Ullas Nagar. Several areas in the periphery of Mumbai are emerging as hotspots. Like you said, Navi Mumbai, Thane with more than 33,000 cases, Navi Mumbai close to 7,000 to 8,000 cases, and even the smaller areas are seeing more than 2,000 cases. And on everyday basis, we are seeing many cases getting added up in the periphery of Mumbai. In other districts such as Pune is seeing a huge spike. So yes, now the problem areas are definitely shifting from the city of Mumbai to Mumbai metropolitan region, other areas, other districts. It could be because of the fact that number of cases number of tests in the state of Maharashtra per se has increased. That could be the reason why the numbers are increasing in various other parts of the state. It is a cause of concern. It is a big worry. So there is a possibility that there could be more restrictions, especially in the periphery of Mumbai, such as Navi Mumbai and Thane. There won't be that much easing. But as far as city of Mumbai is concerned, we are seeing a lot of easing. Of course, salons have opened across the state of Maharashtra from today with a lot of restrictions and with limited staff in place, and various other easing is also something we've been witnessing over the last 2 months, or in fact last couple of weeks especially. But we'll have to wait and see how things will pan out in the days to come. There is a possibility that stricter reinforcement of lockdown will take place, with not too much easing maybe in the next phase. So we'll have to wait and see what the state government will decide about easing in the days to come.
Thank you, Radhika, for that comprehensive update. Now, moving to the state of Karnataka, the government on Saturday decided to reimpose Sunday curfews in a bid to contain the transmission of coronavirus. On the day, it recorded its biggest single-day spike. The curfew will be in effect from the 5th of July until further orders. No activities will be permitted on that day except essential services, and all government offices will remain closed on Saturdays as well. The timing of the night curfew has been changed to 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and will be effective from the 29th of June. Further, the BBMP has been directed to set up more wholesale vegetable markets to avoid crowds. We're joined by Revati, who's reporting from Bengaluru. Revati, the government has also announced an ambitious infrastructure boost to get 10,000 beds ready by Monday evening in Bengaluru. Take us through that plan.
That's right. Looking at the increasing number of cases, especially in Bangalore, where the total number of cases have crossed the 2,000 mark, the government is looking to arrange more beds to handle the number of cases that are coming in. Now, this also includes stadiums, marriage halls, auditoriums, which are not being used at this point of time, all of them which are empty. All of these places that are being converted into COVID care centers, including Kantirava Stadium in Bengaluru. So all these places are now being converted to COVID care centers, and those patients, COVID positive patients who are asymptomatic, will be lodged at these COVID care centers. So only symptomatic COVID-19 positive patients will be at hospitals, and all the others will be at the COVID care centers. which would be all these places that are being converted into the CCCs. Now, also across the state, the private hospitals as well, the government has put out an order saying that private hospitals cannot deny COVID-19 treatment. There are a list of about 500 hospitals across the state that the government has notified, which will be the private hospitals that will be take care of COVID-19 treatment. Also, 50% of beds in these hospitals will be reserved for those patients who are referred by the government as well. So government hospitals, private hospitals, as well as COVID care centers, which are the auditoriums, halls, as well as the sports stadiums that will be converted into COVID care centers. This is how the government is looking at boosting the infrastructure. So on one side, the government is not keen on going for a complete lockdown, only Sunday lockdown starting July 5. And on the other side, the government is focusing more on increasing the infrastructure and focusing on containing the spread with the lockdown and seal down in specific places where there are more number of cases. So the government wants to ensure that we don't go back to a lockdown because the economic condition also needs to be taken care of. So that is the focus at this point of time for Karnataka government.
Thank you for that update. Revati Rajivan reporting from Bengaluru. Now, staying with the city, for more than a month, restaurants in Bengaluru had been asking for permission to resume operations. 3 weeks after they finally became operational, some want to voluntarily shut dine-in services. The increasing number of cases and the stigma of being branded as infection spreaders has pushed hotels to file a police complaint over fake news on social media, tarnishing their reputations. Stacey Pereira with this report.
Bengaluru's iconic Vidyarthi Bhavan restaurant reopened doors for customers on the 8th of June after more than 2 months. 3 weeks on though, facing multiple pressures, they've decided to shut dine-in services for now and stay only with takeaways.
Places like ours, it's very difficult to maintain social distance during rush hours, and people should also understand. We do not want to be a platform where we labeled as people coming over there have acquired this virus. So instead of getting that name, I think it's better we stop dining services.
For Vidyarthi Bhavan and many other restaurants in the city, fear of tarnished reputation drives a call to relapse into closed doors. WhatsApp and social media messages are big culprits, adding to the problem arising out of business dropping more than 50%.
We have immediately complained to the Commissioner of Bangalore regarding these fake news, and we have to track these people because this type of fake news will generate more fear on the people and it creates more anxiety on the people.
Though many choose to brave on for the sake of staying afloat.
We have more than 500 employees to take care of. So closing is not an option for us.
Like in many other sectors, it's a tough balancing act in COVID times. Business needs versus reputation pressures. In Bengaluru, with camera person Riaz, Stacey Pereira for CNN News 18.
We're getting some breaking news from Telangana, where the highest single-day spike has been reported. 1,087 new cases have been recorded. The state tally has gone up to 13,436, 162 recoveries and 6 fatalities recorded in just the last 24 hours. The state government says a few private labs have discrepancies in their testing data. They are reporting a 70% positivity rate. Such labs have been given a period of 2 days to rectify their methods. We have Rishika Sadam reporting from Hyderabad. Rishika, take us to the government's action plan as the cases continue to rise.
Well, this has been a pattern for almost a week now, where every day it's the highest single day spike. And out of the 1,087 new positive cases, 888, that's almost 70% of the cases, are from Hyderabad and surrounding areas only. And despite that, there are no restrictions in Hyderabad. Everything is, the businesses are allowed to operate and private vehicles are allowed to fly. Now, several market areas in Hyderabad, that's the merchant associations, traders associations, and famous markets like Lad Bazaar, General Bazaar, Begum Bazaar have taken a voluntary decision to shut down their shops amidst the constant spike in cases. So all of these shops in several areas will be shut at least till July 5th. this is a decision taken by the market owners themselves for the customer safety as well as their own safety. If you look at the numbers, now Telangana has also decided to test about 50,000 samples over a period of 10 days in Hyderabad and surrounding areas as a precautionary measure. Now that testing has also been paused for the last 2 days because the state has said that they already have a backlog sample of close to 8,500 samples which they need to clear, and only then they'll be taking up fresh samples. So probably the first state which has halted testing, and also at a time when the health minister had said the capacity of testing per day is 10,000 samples, there are questions being raised why not Telangana could handle 50,000 samples in 10 days. So a big focus area for Telangana at this point of time definitely remains Hyderabad, where cases constantly continue to spike, and surrounding areas as well.
Thank you, Rishika, for that update. Highest single-day spike coming from Telangana. Now moving to Tamil Nadu, the custodial death of a father-son duo in the state city of Tuticorin has sparked massive outrage. Taking to Twitter, DMK chief M.K. Stalin has said that if the state government doesn't carry out a fair probe, the party will demand a CBI inquiry. Jairaj and his son Benix were arrested for keeping their mobile phone shop open beyond permitted hours on the 19th of June and died at a hospital 4 days later. The family has alleged torture at the hands of the police and demanded that the cops be booked for murder. 4 policemen, including 2 sub-inspectors, have been suspended. We're joined by Purnima Murli, who's reporting from Chennai. Purnima, we've also accessed that report which from the doctor at the police station where these 2 men were lodged, which shows that they were actually tortured. They were marks in their gluteal area, which is near the hip, and the clamor is increasing for more action and greater transparency from the state government, and for an FIR at least to be registered against these police personnel.
Absolutely. The outrage and the public outcry continues to grow louder as the state government remains unmoved and plays a wait-and-watch game. They say that the matter is sub judice and that action will be taken once the magistrate submits his report based on the findings after talking to eyewitnesses, after monitoring the post-mortem report. The state government says that action will be taken, but sources we have spoken to, the documents we have access clearly shows that there were multiple hit marks on the gluteal region, which is on the backside, which is on the buttocks, and there were multiple hit marks when they were assaulted. So torture and brutal assault was something that is evident from the reports that the jailer has noted, from the reports that the doctor who observed the 2 of them had told us. So clearly, the documents reveal that yes, they were assaulted, and that is why there's outrage pouring in, because so far only suspension and transfers have taken place. It's been more than 8 days since the incident took place, and the state government says that they will only file FIRs after the magistrate submits his finding, after the probe is over. So outrage continues to pour because this is a case of custodial death wherein 2 of them were assaulted by 4 to 5 police officers last Friday.
Thank you, Purnima, for that update. We'll continue to track that story. Now, speaking to CNN News 18's Arunima, Thoothukudi MP Kani Moi said that the local police should not be a part of this investigation.
What does that tell us? It's not just police brutality. There are lapses everywhere. From the doctor who checked on these 2 men till the magistrate who's decided to send them to judicial remand. At so many levels, there were checks and balances that were put in this entire system, but looks like everything failed.
Exactly. The checks and balances which are put in have completely been avoided. They've been overlooked, and they've actually rendered that all the checks and balances useless, and they've completely gone beyond law, beyond the checks and balances to do whatever they felt like. The NHRC has put in guidelines and protocols in case of a custody death. They have said that the local police or the police station should not be part of the investigation. We should either shift it to the CBCID or a special investigation agency. That is what they have clearly stated.
What I'm trying to ask is that, in a criminal investigation case, being there for the investigating agency to get the right evidence, being there on time is very important. So far, what do we know? Nobody has been arrested. The accused are still free. State government has not really come out and filed FIR on grounds of sexual harassment and murder. Is there a worry that evidence could be tampered and destroyed?
The High Court is monitoring the case. They have put a judicial magistrate who is inquiring into the case. So we believe and hope that the evidences will not be destroyed. But definitely there is a fear that the state government might try to tamper with the evidences. That is why our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, has said that if we think and if there is a suspicion which will rise that things will not go as it should, we will definitely ask for CBI inquiry.
Now, swarms of crop-destroying desert locusts reached the outskirts of Delhi after entering Gurugram. Delhi and Haryana governments have issued high alert and have asked officials to take all necessary measures, including deploying tractor-mounted spraying facilities for pest control. Since May, measures to control the locusts have been undertaken over approximately 114,000 hectares of land across 84 districts in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Drones fitted with insecticide sprayers have been approved by the Union Agriculture Ministry for use in locust control. Two states worst affected by this crisis are Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, and they've started employing these flying machines. We're joined by Sagar, who's reporting from the national capital. Sagar, these swarms rest at night, which has prompted the government to order night spraying of chemicals. What specific areas are being targeted?
So two areas in the national capital, in fact the two districts have been put on high alert, South and Southwest Delhi. These are the two districts where people have been advised to keep their doors and windows shut, especially during the daytime. Now and to protect their plants with the plastic lid or cover them with a plastic shade. That is what has been advised, and also few of the effective pesticides and chemicals have been put on stock by the government, and they'll be monitoring the situation. In fact, the Environment Minister of Delhi, Gopal Rai, took emergency meeting just yesterday, and now all the district magistrates, SDM and MCDs are going to report to Divisional Commissioner, and Divisional Commissioner will be actually in charge of taking stock of this and of controlling the situation, and Divisional Commissioner will then report to Gopal Rai. So this is the channel of communication that has been done. So from the top level, from the Delhi government's top leadership till MCD officials, all have been put on alert and have been told to strictly be alert and monitor the situation, because swarms of locusts, like you said, have already reached Haryana, in fact Gurugram, the suburbs of the national capital, and there is a possibility that it can also reach to the national capital, and which is why these precautions have been taken.
Thank you, Sagar, for that update. We'll continue to track that story as it develops. Getting you news from around the country. OPD services at Sir Ganga Ram Hospital will be operational once again after being shut for 3 months due to the surge in COVID cases in the capital. Ganga Ram Hospital's OPD will function from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Shopkeepers in Hyderabad have decided to keep their shops shut. Its ever-bustling market of Char Minar will remain closed till the 5th of July. Several markets have voluntarily closed in Telangana's Hyderabad, in the city of Hyderabad, due to the rising cases of the novel coronavirus. The footfall of these markets have also reduced drastically. A joint team of the Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police have busted a narco-terror module and arrested 2 people in Kupwara. Over 13 kilograms of narcotics, arms and ammunition have also been seized. BSF jawans at the Atari Wagah border are reeling under the intense heat wave. Jawans deployed near the India-Pakistan border have said that the severe weather conditions will not deter them from serving the nation. Now let's get you a global overview of the corona pandemic. First, let's look at the cases around the world. Total cases currently stand at over 100 lakh. 81,477. The active cases stand at 41,21,812. The death toll at over 5 lakh, but the recoveries over 54 lakh, closing in on that 55 lakh mark. Let's go to the global epicenter of the COVID crisis, which is the United States. In the United States, you have close to 26 lakh total cases, the active cases nearing that 14 lakh mark. The death toll, the highest in the world, at 1,28,152. But the recoveries are also picking up with more testing and more containment measures at 10,81,437. Now, Trump has ensured the slowing down of testing and continues to hold public rallies ahead of the presidential elections. Let's go to the second worst affected country in the world, which is Brazil. Now, in Brazil, the total cases stand at 13,15,941. Active cases over 5 lakh. The death toll at 57,103. But the recovery is also picking up over there at 7,15,905. Now, Brazil has reached a deal with the UK to produce the COVID-19 vaccine that's been developed by Oxford University. Brazil will spend $287 million to buy vaccine doses and ingredients for as many as 100 million shots. Let's go to Russia, which is the third worst affected nation in the world. In Russia, the cases stand at 6,27,646. Active cases at 2,25,325. Death toll pretty low at 8,969. Recoveries also over there picking up, closing in on that 4 lakh mark at 3,93,352. The country's one-day increases in new cases has fallen to the lowest level since April. The nation is lifting lockdown restrictions as the government prepares to hold a national vote on the 1st of July. President Vladimir Putin is seeking a public backing for constitutional amendments so that it would allow him to stay in power beyond his current term. Now that's all we have to pack in on the show. The special offer on Money Control Pro, your trusted guide in these uncertain times. Join the Pro family.